I think we've had, 100 years of prohibition where heroin has been demonized, and we can think about all the movies that you've seen, books that you've read about the heroin addict. We've all come to sort of understand culturally that this person becomes addicted. The first time they use a drug, they do terrible things. This is a mythology that surrounds that drug, and Canada's got quite an interesting history in relation to criminalizing heroin, because when Canada first brought about drug prohibition, enacted laws against opium, criminalized heroin, we were one of the only Western nations that didn't set up substitution programs. The UK set up where doctors could still prescribe heroin and other narcotics to people who were addicted to the drug. Even the United States set up clinics in New York and elsewhere for the first 20 years after the drug was criminalized. But in Canada, overnight, people became criminals. And we've pretty well stuck to that mandate for a long, long time. And so there's just a lot of cultural misunderstanding about the drug. And I think that's why it's so easy to sort of inflame. People and politicians use it as a way to keep us from moving forward in the programs that we could have in Canada, the kind of drug policy reform that we could have as well.
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever thanked the MPA in my life. I just wanted to thank you guys, because I think what you shared with us tonight is, just incredible. I mean, I know there's people in this room, and we always think we know a lot, and then when you hear about people's experiences and what you went through, you realize you don't know hardly anything. So thank you for telling us, what was involved in the trial and what it felt like for you. And I really feel it's really incredibly important as we go into other trials or other programs. I just had a couple of questions. Donald, you said that the Canadian Centre for Substance Abuse, is that the panel you were at? Yeah. And I'm just wondering, I'm curious whether or not the work that you're doing, the NPA here, it seems to me that a group like that should be an advocate for making sure that trials are done in a human, respectful way, in a dignified way, and incorporating some of the recommendations that you have. And I don't know if you're able to give your recommendations to groups like that. I mean, they need to be taken. They are supposedly our national drug policy agency, and they're at arm's length from the government and meant to be independent. And so I really hope that can be done. And then the other really just comment was to continue your research. I don't know if you're able to access any money from the Canadian Institute for Health Research, what they call community-based research. I mean, we've been hearing about this in Ottawa, and I've been trying to find out what money is really available for what they term community-based research that can involve peers. Because, what's so awful is that people spend so much time just chasing down a little bit of money so you can do your work. So I don't know if that's an avenue for you to look at, but I'd certainly be happy to try and help. But anyway, just thank you. I think what you've said tonight.
Thanks, Libby. We have no funding from anybody right now. And Livingston, thank her. Our meetings on Saturday cost about maybe $60 a week, and we put this together. It's coming out of her pocket because we can't get funding from anybody. We're begging for funding. But we need funding.
I think at the beginning we didn't go out looking for funding because we wanted to maintain our independence, and we wanted to focus on where we were going to go with this, because we were it was a new thing for a lot of us, and we didn't really want to involve outsiders at the beginning. I think now that we've come out with our staff, and we brought Susan in to help us, that we're going to be more confident. Libby, we started January 28th.
Wow.
It's this is what we're in November. This is it's been, and it's pretty quick, and we do have some proposals that we have written out. We just haven't. We've been, this is our
you guys kind of talked a little bit about methadone, because I do think it's a huge issue, and there are so many concerns about methadone programs, and I was just thinking about Melissa Era, who's one of the first members at Vandu, and she really worked so hard on working with the College of Pharmacists, actually, in Victoria, around methadone and how it was dispensed and all the problems and the control around it. And I actually think it's gotten much worse since
Oh, it has.
because, you know, it used to be just doctors, but now it's all through these. So I kind of, like, just listening to you guys tonight, I'm thinking, wow, we gotta really take this up as well, because people are being so controlled, and as you say, it's like an industry now that's taking off, and it's like, is it really helping people, or is it just another form of social control?
Today we're working with the Penny Mallon at the City of Vancouver on a task force to try and get all the people at the table. We've been trying to get access to a report that was done in 2008, and the Pivot Legal Society asked for it in their FOI, and I think, what is it, 3/4 of an end?
It's heavily redacted. It's so heavily redacted you can't even tell there's a report there, basically. It's in black, it's in white, but it's a very odd thing that the BC, is it CarBC and the provincial government have paid for a report that is now being kept from the public. And we certainly paid for it, and many hundreds of Vandu members helped with all the consultations and used all our connections to go through the province to the other drug user groups that we've helped to form. You know, it was really felt like we had there's another way that as a person being researched, you feel like, so when the report comes out, we can't read it, and yet we gave you all the information. And there's, of course, more information. My sense is that what they're trying to hide is, and I think it's, you know, like physicians are getting paid for 8 appointments a month, even if they only see a methadone patient twice a month. And that's the kind of thing I think that would be covered up, I guess, because that's maybe sticks in the craw of a few Canadian citizens to think that that's a little odd. So, I mean, we don't know why, and I don't know if you can help. Jenny hasn't helped us with it, but we're not sure where to turn. You know, you FOI, and it's this big mud wrestling thing, and they take months and months to get back to you, and then they give you this redacted document with nothing in it, and then you appeal the decision, and then you guess mud wrestle for another year. But it's going to be out of date by the time we ever get to see it. But it surprises me Penny can't get it. So we're just not sure where to pick it. Anyone gets any ideas?
We're ready to go to work again.
Well, there's one thing we can do. It's show up somewhere. Even without funding, we'll show up.
And one thing that happened to me because of the NAOMI, when I got off of it, I went back to street heroin, and I quit using because I couldn't do street heroin again. After getting pharmaceutical heroin, I realized that street heroin just wasn't going to do it anymore, so I haven't used in 5 years.
Are there any particular experiences you'd want to talk about as you, not being a heroin user, I can't imagine coming near the end of the NAOMI project after you know, building relationships and becoming, you know, better in many ways. It just seems odd. What was that like? Is there any, do you want to talk about that, or do you want to just forget about it?
Well, we didn't forget about it. We didn't forget about it, believe me. But we didn't drop out at the same, like we were individually dropped one week and one another, so slowly somebody in your group would be gone. And because it wasn't 2 or 3 or 4 people at one time meeting, it was sort of, it was really staggered, so you didn't really notice that one person was gone until it was, and then you ran into them on the street and they were using again, and you could see they were starting to do badly, and we were just, oh, God, when it's going to end, it's going to end.